Welcome to the Intrinsic First Leadership Podcast. I'm Aaron Robbins with Intrinsic First. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Be sure to stick around to the end for some debatably funny jokes that will hopefully leave you with a smile. And don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes. We're here to support you, and we'd love to hear from you. So drop us a comment below or reach out to us directly at info@intrinsicfirst.com. Ready to dive into the world of leadership? Let's get started. All right, so we're back to talk about more motivation. It's the same day. It's only a couple of minutes later, but for the people who are listening, it could have been days or weeks or months. I don't know. I'm Aaron Robbins.
Drea Zagarmi.
Jimmy Karam.
Do you like the introductions? We don't have to do that every time. Anyway. What was that?
I was just watching his head, teasing him back.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like swimming in the air or something. That was a weird, okay.
Stevie Wonder.
If you're listening to the audio version, Dre is making some really weird stuff going on with his head. I guess he was mimicking Jimmy. But we're going to continue our discussion about motivation, and then we get into power after that. So, we talked about the framework. We talked about different theories of motivation last time, and we also talked about self-determination theory in detail, right, with the 3 basic psychological needs and then the motivational outlooks that are on a spectrum. Why don't we jump in and talk more about, what does that really look like? How do we apply that in situations? And we can, maybe look at a story or two.
I think
so we've laid the groundwork
for these motivational outlooks.
Yep.
Right.
That then lead to what we would like to see leaders understand. What would we want leaders to do as a result of, let's say, using as a basis for my decision making, what kind of motivational outlook I would like to facilitate in the work environment or to an individual in a one-to-one context, or in a group.
And that's what gets into the skill, which we're not going to talk about today. That comes after the context, but the skill of
what do you say and do?
We shift into, how do we shift or help create the environment for people to shift into these optimal motivational states? Because when you're optimally motivated, you grow, you build vitality. When you're suboptimally motivated or in a controlled state, you're not. You're going to need willpower to keep things going. And as we know from research, willpower takes endurance. It runs out over time.
So I hear a lot of the from parents about, I'm having trouble motivating my child, or how do you motivate somebody? And I think that's an important point to make, that it's not, motivation isn't necessarily something you
just
do.
read the title of that book.
Yeah, that's right. Why motivating people doesn't work. But so the idea is it's not something you do. Motivation is more about creating that environment that encourages someone to thrive and to do,
or to work with or for the greater sense of autonomy, the greater sense of growth, the greater sense of connection,
and help someone understand how they have their choice or relatedness or competence. Right. You can create that environment. You can also work with them to help them realize that maybe their perception of something isn't necessarily the reality of it. Is there is choice. There is a choice you made to get here, even though you have to take this test, but you chose to do this class, or maybe you did if you're a kid, but anyways.
Have you got some coaching examples with your football, with your parents?
Yeah. So the biggest one is I get, I get that question, like, how do I motivate my child to do X or Y?
What do you say?
And I try to...
You say, no!
Stupid, I don't want you doing that. And I try to explain to them it's not about getting them to do it. It's about understanding them and creating an environment that allows them to fail, allows them to learn, allows them to discover, why they're doing what they're doing. Why are they playing football? I mean, ask a 9-year-old why they want to play football. You get all kinds of great answers. Most of it's just they want to have fun, or they want to learn, or they want to play with new friends, and they want to learn the game of football. And that's the environment you want to support. That's the environment you want them to keep building on, not how many touchdowns.
So how'd you do that on a team basis?
So I always start every season. I have the parents, because I work with 9, 10-year-olds, is to sit down and ask a few questions. And I give all the parents the same questions. And one of those is, ask your child, why do they want to play football? And I get all those answers together. And then I ask them, what do they want to get as a parent? Because I want to make sure the parents' voices are heard as well. I want to know from the parents what do they want their child to get out of the sport itself? And through all those answers, mainly the answers from the children, I create the vision statement, which I use Leadership Genius to help me create that. And that, you build I call it a vision statement, but it necessarily gives us a team vision statement as to what we want to do, how we want to do it, identifying values, and then why are we doing it. And again, 9 times out of 10, the word fun is it permeates through all the answers. And so I make sure that's part of it. But it's not fun to lose, as we know. So part of self-determination is competence to continue to learn about the game, to learn football, to learn about themselves. And so we incorporate that into it. So there's always this aspect of learning as well. And so I build that. It's a 1-sentence statement, and I just have that throughout the entire season. And I remind, through that process is identifying values, as we've discussed as well. And I make sure that is a learning point that we don't forget, And usually kids understand at that age, hard work or working hard, they equate that with doing really good. And, they unfortunately learn later, no matter how hard you work, you're just not going to get whatever you're not going to always get it. But at this age, it's great to use, because we enforce working hard. We encourage learning something every day. We encourage good sportsmanship. So it's that environment that we're creating. And I think that helps keep everyone in this optimal motivational state, no matter where we are in the season, no matter how many games we lose, how many games we win. Every game's the same.
But interestingly, you're shifting the question off of your coach and your other coach's shoulders and asking them to ask themselves that question.
Yeah.
And it's so fundamentally important for people to understand you can't make somebody be motivated. You can only create an environment where they can be motivated or use see the rewards of the psychic rewards of connection, autonomy, and choice, and competence.
Yeah, 100%. And so in everything we do, I make sure that those 3 fundamental principles are captured, right? And so, we've said this earlier, but I think of the word team as an abstract idea for children, because especially at that age, they haven't really they haven't developed to understand. But knowing that if you become the best version of yourself, the team will benefit from that. And so,
or better yet, you'd have more fun. Everybody has more fun.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Let me give you an example, okay? Because I would like managers to think about this, leaders to be thinking about this, parents thinking about this. The more you shift the quality of someone's actions to their own sense of psychic competence, vitality, and resiliency, the better off you are, and the greater the sense of motivation is continued over the time. I had 2 athletes in the house, and both of them were girls and turned out to be good performers in what they did. One was a swimmer, and then as a rower. Another one was a volleyball player. And I want to tell a story about the volleyball player. That she was acting and playing volleyball because of a lot of imposed reasons, and things like she would be more attractive to colleges where she's not a one-trick pony, and she would not just a good student, but a good athlete. And she was doing that because her mom wanted her to get the sense of her own body, and so she was doing the things, going through the motions for at least 6 years. She played volleyball, club volleyball, and then she got into high school volleyball. And sure enough, she got into a high school team that went to the state finals to try to play for the best in high school volleyball women's girls. Well, and during those times, it was just a bear to get her to get up and go to practice, or just a bear to go and do what she was doing. And she never really appreciated what she was doing until she got to be a team member of a really good volleyball team that had nationally ranked recruited kids going out of it, which she never wanted to do. And so they got into a semi-finished tournament where they were second in line to get to play the big game. And she got in, and she was a setter, and so she rotated into the position where she had to be able to serve. And they were down 6 points and really close to winning. The other team was winning. She got up there, and something happened to her, and she got into a zone, and she served like 7 different serves, and each one of them they couldn't handle. And as a matter of fact, she went from 6 down to 1 over, and they won. Nice. And so everybody's screaming and yelling, and they're running onto the court. And I got up there before anybody else did and looked at her. I put my hand on her shoulder, and I said, "So, I noticed that when you got up to serve the last time that you were 6 down, and you now came up, and instead of saying, 'I love you, that was phenomenal,' I said, 'So what did you think when that happened?' And she said, 'Dad, it was like magic.' She said, I loved it. I just knew it was going to go, and I knew we were going to win. And just a sense of her own agency, her capacity to act on her own skills. I didn't have to tell her. In fact, saying, 'You did a great job, I'm so proud of you,' was the last thing in the world that would free her up to be who she was and what she really understood about herself for the first time. And it's that shifting of power from what did I think to what did you think?
That's a great point, because I mean, the first thing we say when we see our children do things, or we think, I would say, is, 'I'm so proud of you,' and that's a judgment, right? And that a lot of parents would push back on that. But I 100% agree with you. It's more about, how was that for you?
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
Tell me about it.
Yes.
Relive it with me.
Yep. That's so important.
Yeah. So as you think about being a leader, whether you're a parent or somebody working in your corporation, remember that the responsibility is to create an environment where they see that and cherish it and live it.
Somebody should do research on that kind of feedback. That could roll right into a feedback podcast, but
yes.
We're not going to do that.
No, not right now.
So we've now got a story, 2 sports stories. We've got Jimmy's experience as a coach with football. We've got your story with your daughter playing volleyball. Should we take it to an organizational context?
I've got a story. I've got a story. What
you made that face like I hadn't planned to say that. Like, that's a great transition. I know. I thought it out before we did it.
Well, I do have a story that I like to tell about. We were working with this company, small tool and die company that made a wonderful, high class tools for carpenters and industrial workers and stuff, and they were in the doldrums, they just weren't much fun around the place, and so one of the vice presidents noticed all this, and he said, "We got to do something. We got first this." And of course, given that they were executives and they usually are using this carrot and stick mentality, one guy said, "Well, okay, I got an idea. Why don't we, just for the sake, we don't have to do this all the time, but let's do this. Why don't we buy the whole company? Each worker, we're going to buy them
a turkey, right? I remember this story.
A Thanksgiving turkey, and just put it out there and just give them that they want a Thanksgiving turkey. Sign up, and there will be a day. As soon as we find out how much we have to purchase, we will do that and buy them.
Hey, so was the intent of them coming up with that decision because they wanted to try to motivate their employees, or was it because they just wanted to do something nice?
They were just feeling that the place was, people were just working hard, and they just didn't. They were tired, and people were just
boost morale.
So it was more of a reward kind of thing.
Just to kind of this should increase the morale a little bit.
Yeah. So they were looking as an external type.
Absolutely, that's the only purpose they had for it.
How many employees are we talking about?
I think there was something like 500 or so. It was a small group. Yeah, that's a lot of turkeys.
That's not that small of a group.
You mean that work for them?
We have a group of 10.
Yeah,
so
we have 10
500
employees.
someday.
One day.
So they went out, got the names of the people because not everybody wanted, and then they went out and bought the prescribed amount. And
where do you buy 500 turkeys?
Well, they were in right around an agricultural community, and so they
go to a farm.
Yeah. And so they were smart enough to plan for it. They didn't do it the day before Thanksgiving. This was done, a month or so ahead of time and so forth, where they could get what they needed. And they told everybody sign up and come at such and such a time and such a day, and you can pick up your turkey. And so everybody went in and they pulled it off, and sure enough, it was a lift for a shortened period of time. And after Christmas, right back down into the doldrums and so on and so forth. And so the guy who thought about this said, "Well, gee, that worked pretty good. We need a little bit of let's do that again next year." And this time they did it, but they found out that there was a little bit of grumbling going on the second time they did it because people got different sized turkeys. And they didn't ask for it.
Gosh.
Oh, yeah, they were pissed
unfair.
off. Yeah, you got a 16-pounder and I got a 3-pounder. Something like that, And so they got a little bent out of shape. And so, sure enough, you do it now, and they've rolled around the third year, and can we do that again this year? And one says, yeah, but we better make sure that they're all weigh the same, and everybody gets one, and nobody gets less than. But they found out that this really produced a problem because some people didn't want 16-pound turkeys. They wanted the smaller ones, or because there was only me and the wife, or only me and the small kids. And so that and none of that. They were bitching because they couldn't take it. They couldn't come back and say, "Could we have roast beef instead of turkey?" It was hams, and next thing you know, everybody's bitching and moaning. And they, are we going to get this the fourth year? Are we going to get this? And my hope that we can get something better than everybody's grousing about it. And the poor guy who thought this out was going, "Well, gee, this was just awful. What was this all? Oh, geez." And this year, so they did it one more year, and they did it, and they noticed a smell around the plant that they didn't like. They went back into the dumpsters, and they found out that people were dumping whole turkeys.
Oh, my gosh.
It got to be, a big deal show, whatever. So it was not connected to anything, or not connected, just kind of like to spruce things up, or to show them how good that we were thinking of we can feed the animals, or I don't know, whatever it was. It just didn't work. And so incentives like that, and that's where the story goes, is it can get you into such incredible problems and dissatisfactions that you didn't even have when you weren't doing it,
The dog's here.
I know.
Cookie.
Yeah, the dog's here. Welcome.
Hey,
And you didn't come over here and see me. Come here, Curly. You know, that's the one institutional thing that, you know, you get yourself into trouble when you're trying to do the incentive stuff, that you don't get it.
so, but do you think that resulted in people feeling externally and imposed motivational outlooks?
I think that what you've got is when you get incentives that you're throwing out there that are gratuitous at best, and I don't know what you're trying to do. It's not. I know rewards have to be immediate.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be personal, and they have to be meaningful in the minds of the people who are getting them. If we were going to give any close of incentives like that, which I'm not recommending, I'm talking about the idea that the problems you get are just perpetuate more problems and less connectedness with what you want people to have, a feeling of autonomy that you want to have, and the sense of growth. I don't know that those things weren't there.
And this might be a hard question. I mean, like, is there a better way of doing what they were trying to accomplish instead of giving away turkeys or something? I mean, that probably take more thought.
That's why I was saying about
Yeah.
the conditions. It has to be immediate. And what's immediate? It's after the behavior you want to have.
Sure.
Even though I'm not advocating that kind of reward.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do that, it needs to be immediately after the behavior. It has to be personal. And you'd give everybody the turkeys. Well, wait a minute. I don't like turkey. Well,
Give some choice in the matter of, do you want the
That's
ham,
right.
the turkey, the roast beef?
They have to be personal. It has to be immediate. It has to be.
So Dan Pink talks about, you know, if you're going to use external, you know, how to use it. And I think that I like what he said there. Not that you should be trying to focus on external and the use of it, but again, it all comes back to the why. So if that personalized piece, I think, is huge, right? So if they had gotten turkeys and it was for the reason, not because people were down in the morale and they thought it would lift them up, it was because they want to help recognize to people that, hey, we appreciate the work that you're doing. You're doing really well. It's not and so what Dan Pink talks about is that instead of a if then, it's a now that type of reward. Yes. And so it's not if I give you this turkey, correct, you're going to be
it's not contingent.
More,
that's correct.
Yeah,
more
motivated.
That's exactly
where it gets into the controlling aspect. It's now that you've done this and you've been working hard, we appreciate that. We want to let you know. And so now the turkey doesn't represent an external reward. It represents just acknowledgement of the
something that
growth, the competence, the performance, the success that they've had.
That takes me right back to like youth sports. So how many times, I mean, you have a child that's there to play football for fun or baseball.
They score a goal and you give them some gummy bears.
Yeah, it's just the worst thing you can do.
Because now the next game, I got to score a goal, otherwise I don't get a cake.
Yeah. And it might work for the whole season, but it's not sustainable over time.
Not only that, it's contingent.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's not self-initiated.
Well, it's not going to lead to the joy of the game.
But that's exactly it. If then doesn't work.
If
then doesn't work. And now that you've done this, you know, then you can recognize them for
right. But again, I think even when you do it now, that if you do it right, it's not an external reward anymore. And we can, you know, we're not going to get into the money topic, but it's the same kind of thing. If the money there is representing just the acknowledgement that you grew or you improved or that you did something great, as opposed to it's something that you're now imposed upon or that you need to have that again to do what you were doing, then it's not really suboptimally motivating thing. It's not external anymore.
So
it
being
be internal.
So it's conditional or contingent upon a certain set of behaviors. No longer it's not a question.
Right. That's immediately imposed. So anyways.
So don't pay your kids to play. Don't do that.
Don't pay your kids to play.
Yeah.
No, that's a bad idea. That'll backfire. So let's go back all the way to the beginning to wrap this one up. We talked about in the very beginning why the word drive, despite the name of Dan Pink's book, is not the best word to use when you're talking about motivation. And Susan's explained it to me multiple times because I still say drive sometimes, and she always calls me out on it, but I can't for the life of me remember exactly what her explanation was. So, Drea, can you indulge us?
On why she doesn't like drive? Well, I don't like it, and
why don't you like the word drive? I
can't speak for her, but I because she's so much more eloquent than I am. I really mean that. She's much more eloquent. So it's I think that the word drive should be reserved for cell deprivation studies or cell deprivation rationale for why people do what they do. So if I'm thirsty, of course, I understand it, and I will drink. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat, and whatever else I get driven by.
Kind of do.
So if you're thirsty, it's going to drive you to want to drink.
Or
That's
find,
okay to say.
find beverages to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's going to drive you to drink. That sounds.
No, I didn't mean it like.
That's what
if
you
you're
said.
thirsty, it's going to drive you to drink. No, that's
said too.
That's hilarious. I didn't mean it that way at all. I meant, let's say you're hungry, it's going to drive you to the cupboard to find food.
But that's not. Those are temporary fixes, and a much less powerful ending to the kind of optimal motivation that we that really is meaningful, which of course is a sense of autonomy and a connectedness or competence. And those things are vitality-producing energies or vitality-producing a sense of being or state, and those things are infinitely more helpful to the ultimate human condition. Passion to do what you're doing, and so I'm sure Susan can say it much better than that. But it's really understanding what do we want for people in an organizational setting. What I want them to be is vitally interested in doing things that are better for them and others.
So is it almost that drive is an imposing type of word?
Yeah,
then,
it's an
push,
external.
It's not the self.
Yeah, it's like
the psychological aspect is it's a choice that we can make.
I'm pushing a rope.
Right. So you say drive, it just kind of, you have that in your vocabulary when you're talking about psychological energy or psychological motivation. It's going to just take you down that path towards external.
Yeah, and legitimize it. I don't want that.
Yeah. And a joke to wrap it up.
You're struggling on the last one.
I noticed your shirt matches our wall.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Is that a joke?
What? No. It's just what a
Look at this guy.
coincidence.
Isn't he
I'm wearing our company
beautiful?
shirt.
Hello, gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's just, oh my
you're gonna have to
goodness.
get you one, Drea. We've got tickets somewhere.
Maybe we should start selling them.
Yeah, we can start
We'll
doing
put
that.
them on the website. You want a cool? It's a cool logo. I like.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Nice. It's very nice. Why can't I think of a joke?
The one about the saran wrap.
Oh, that's dirty.
No, that's okay. That's good.
That's true. There's no bad words.
Are you sure?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right,
But
well,
it's another doctor's office.
It's about this gentleman who doesn't think that the clinical psychological help he's getting is particularly effective. So he decides he's going to change therapists, and he calls a place he'd never been before and settle on a time to come in. They said, come in at 9:00 tomorrow, and we'll see you, just as an introductory a chance to establish relationships with you. So he shows up at 9, and he's unfortunately he's not wearing any clothes, but he has.
Unfortunately, to who?
Luckily there wasn't
Everyone
anybody.
else.
There wasn't anybody in the waiting room but him. and but he's got some saran wrap wrapped around his waist, and he's sitting there and
Like a skirt.
yeah, like a doctor. And a doctor goes by. One of the clinicians goes by and looks as he doesn't stop. He just keeps walking by, and he says, "Clearly, I can see your nuts."
It's a good, clean joke.
You tell it a little bit differently every time.
That's great. That's great.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining.
God, help me! I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Next episode, we talk about power. That's a great transition.
Oh shit!
Congrats! You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for tuning in. We genuinely hope that you found value in our conversation. If you liked it, Please click that like button below and subscribe so that you can stay up to date on our current episodes. And if you didn't like it, you can click the dislike button, but make sure you click it twice. We're eager to hear from you, whether it's your thoughts, questions, topic ideas, or if you're interested in our leadership training and consulting support. Leave us a comment below or reach out to us directly at info@intrinsicfirst.com. We're open to any and all feedback. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to having you back for more insightful leadership discussion. Until next time.